So we're going to call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Jake Castile. Here. Jim Jackson. Pete McGorry.
Here.
David Miller.
Here.
Tom Tucker.
Here.
Connor Whalen.
Here.
Mike Zuloff.
Here.
Did we have any communication to excuse him or not?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion to excuse.
Any second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, excused. Before we do the approval of the minutes, I would like to say to the audience that item 3, the adjudication hearing, has been withdrawn this afternoon, so we will not be doing that hearing.
That was for what address, Mr. Chairman?
Conditional use permit 919 3rd Street. That has been withdrawn. That's why I figured you didn't have to sit through the meeting.
Did David Miller
So you second.
Okay,
That's
Elise,
a relief.
yeah,
So that means it's not happening.
it's not,
Correct. Correct.
that is correct.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, we got to,
it
yes,
it might be fair to point out to the folks that they could reapply.
yes, but they'd be notified. Okay, at this time, I'd like approval of the minutes you received previously.
So moved.
I'll second, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we had a move and second. All in favor of approval of the minutes? Say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? Okay. New business, site plan for Mylan Road.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an application for site plan approval submitted by the applicant, Pivotal Housing Partners, for property. It's under purchase contract to own at 2216 Mylan Road for construction of a new senior apartment building called Sandusky Senior Lofts. A little bit about Pivotal, the applicant. As you can see from some of these statistics, they are not new at all to this business. They've had some success, and by these couple of maps I'll flash here, they've been successful with this. They own a variety of senior living facilities, and as I counted, and the applicant can verify when I'm sure he will like to come up to the podium at some point, I counted 30 facilities alone in Ohio, with the closest to us actually being right next door in Huron. Onto the site details. Outlined in red, you'll see 2 parcels, technically 2 zoning districts. They will be, the plan long-term is to combine the properties together, which will result in a split zone property with the vast majority of the site and almost all of the development being on the multifamily residential part. There's no, so what the land is zoned for is appropriate for what's proposed. Here's a location map to give us a better bird's eye view of the existing site conditions. We got Norfolk and Southern East-West Railroad to the north of the site, and we have the Mylan Road overpass bridge to the south of the site. This site technically is on Frontage Road F, which is a slip road. If we can all go to the street level view using this picture, but also kind of in our minds, you're going north on Mylan Road, Route 250. You've just passed the intersection of East Perkins Ave and Mylan Road, and on your right goes by C Street, Alpine Drive, and then you start to see Chalet, and you see this middle dividing barrier. And you keep going up and you'll reach a decision point where you can continue going on the bridge up and how it curves onto Butler Street, or you can take a right onto Frontage Road F. So here is from Frontage Road F, here's a few pictures of the property. Here's, you can see an existing gravel drive with a lot of wooded area. There's more on the site. And then a little bit more of the same as we're heading north on Frontage Road F. So moving on for now, we'll dive into each one of these subsections individually, but here's the proposed site plan, here's everything. First, the 5-story building is proposed, which is approximately 58 feet tall. The limit for the district is 75 feet or 6 stories. The building, its setbacks, its height meets all code requirements. In terms of land uses in our code, it's classified as a multifamily apartment building. It will introduce 117 new senior apartment units, including a deed restriction requiring that tenants are 55 years or older. Affordability, as far as we understand, is guaranteed as an ongoing condition of the state tax credits received. You see, this project kind of came to city staff around springtime of 2025, this past year, when they applied, or they were looking at sites and qualifying census tracts for the state of Ohio low-income housing tax credits, and this site came up on their radar and they looked for city support. They do have a variance, a couple variances resulting in them allowing to build this number of units, so it's been through that process. And the footprint of the building takes up about 11% of the lot at just shy of 22,000 square feet. So moving on for now, here's an example facade provided by the applicant with what I call a material palette. So on the lower portion of the building are brick facade and then different types of siding, different textures moving up. So this is a modern build, very attractive building, and this will be a nice addition to the streetscape. So keep this in mind as we look at this slide. Here's the proposed elevations from top to bottom. We have the south elevation, which faces the existing Chelsea Court apartment complex. The east elevation facing the railroad. The west elevation, this one is the one that's visible directly facing the overpass bridge. And then we have the north elevation on the bottom. Here's the first floor plan. I included just this one because all the floors are more or less oriented the same, with the exception of that community room. Sometimes on floors, there's a slightly different amenity. You'll see a couple examples of that shortly. But here's the typical composition. There's a few ADA accessible units, with the majority of the rooms being the standard senior apartment units, and the rest of the space, hallways, elevators, stairs, office, utilities, and trash. Here's some sample photos of other existing properties provided by the applicant, on the left being a kitchen, middle, bathroom, and on the right, a bedroom. Common areas from other properties. First floor on this site is a community room. That's an example of one. A business center with computer and printer access, and then a fitness center on the bottom left, and a laundry room on the bottom right. Here's our proposed parking plan. We've got a U shape with two dual access ingress-egress lanes, which are built for emergency access. We have the parking lot is just over 50,000 square feet, and we determined that it meets all code requirements, and I'll get into my analysis here. So our code asks for 1.5 spaces per apartment unit, and it doesn't specify per elderly apartment, or it's just apartments in general, which when you multiply 1.5 spaces by 117 units, that equals a minimum of 176 parking spaces. What they've proposed and what staff fully supports is 127 off-street parking spaces. The applicant supplied to us that based on their existing facilities, that 0.7 spaces per apartment is well enough to accommodate their use. That would equal 82 spaces here. So when you put that into perspective, 127 parking spaces is 45 spaces or 35% above what the applicant actually expects demand to be, peak demand to be. So technically we are overparked here, even if our code might happen to disagree. Staff fully supports the request for reduction in parking. For now, I'm going to move on. Proposed landscaping plan, a lot of green here. Very, very pleased with this. As I go through these quick facts on the right, I'd like you all to note the legend on the top right. So this landscaping plan meets all code requirements. It's almost 50% of the lot coverage, which is outstanding. Mixed plantings of hardy, deciduous, and evergreen species are planned throughout the site, and existing trees and detention pond vegetation will contribute to overall screening and beautification of this property. When you go to this slide, if you look in the green, if you see a circle, a bigger circle, that's a new tree. If you see a smaller circle, that might be a tree or it's a shrub, like look around the building, that's dotted with, well, they look like dots from this perspective. Those are shrubs. All the other blank space on the plan that's green is grass. And then in the other symbol is preserved vegetation. Now, that's not just grass or wild grasses, weeds, that's actual woods. If we recall that aerial image, that's preserved woods. I just want to commend the applicant because it's refreshing to see that a promise, up to this point has been, or their intention has been upheld to keep as much wooded area as possible. That helps with stormwater, which is the next topic of just the next few slides here. And we do have our acting Public Works Director, Josh Snyder, here, if the planning commissioners have any questions, as well as the applicant. So looking at the legend, we have impervious cover in gray and woods in green. As a reminder, impervious just basically means that water can't flow through that material the same as it can with soil. So gravel driveway counts, the new parking lot will count. Moving on, though, in the current condition of the site, the entirety property flows undetained directly to the railroad ditch, which is on the right-hand side. That's to the north. So it flows north to the railroad ditch. So this is a lot. Let me walk us through it. Note the legend. We got a couple new things in there. Starting in the middle, it's important to note that all stormwater within the blue boundary there will be captured and routed to the stormwater pond. This includes all new impervious surfaces in the new building. So all the gray will go to all the blue. We have the woods there in the case of peak weather events, and per an existing legal agreement with the applicant, they were required to engineer their wet extended detention pond to, you'll note, 120% capacity. Legally, properties are only required to take care of their own stormwater, getting that to the appropriate source as determined by the jurisdiction. And I think any civil engineer will tell you that while they're not required to help out neighboring properties, often they do. And this is a codified version of that. So this really will, because the last thing on this slide to note, commissioners, is this red swale. It's noted as a stormwater cutoff swale. And a reminder, a swale is just simply a ditch. No stormwater flow will flow to neighboring property. The swale will direct flow to the railroad ditch to the north. This swale will reduce the amount of water flowing into the railroad ditch from this site by 50 to 75% during a rain event. Here's some calculations. On the top, you'll see that 69.9, that's the 70 rounded up, percent down to the 51.2, 50%. And you'll see the different kinds of storms. So per our city engineering department, this proposed stormwater plan meets all city requirements, and it will dramatically decrease the water running off into the ditch. Moving on for now, the proposed lighting plan. We've got building wall lighting, parking lot lighting, all downlit, not shining into the sky, appropriate in warmth at 3,000 degrees Kelvin or warmer, meets all code requirements. Apartments comments, just mentioned engineering staff already confirmed the design and placement of the proposed stormwater site controls will manage at least 120% of the expected stormwater needs. Our analysis, we've run through, reduced parking is appropriate because the land use is one of the lowest trip generators among a myriad of other factors. The proposed stormwater detention pond will improve the conditions of surrounding properties during wet weather events. 3, the need for senior housing units is well documented. This project's helped meet that need in a huge way, and all other code requirements will be met. Therefore, staff recommends approval with the following condition. 1, all applicable permits are obtained through the building department, engineering department, and any other applicable agency prior to construction. Thank you. I can take any questions.
Questions? Okay, if no questions, the applicant would like to speak. and welcome.
Yeah, thank you, commission members. Appreciate your time tonight. My name's Pete Schwigerod. I'm with Pivotal Housing Partners. We're located at 9100 Centerpoint Drive in Westchester, Ohio. Thank you, Adam. You did a great job. Really covered most of what I'd want to do. I will just speak to our track record. We have been doing this for over 30 years. Senior housing makes up about 2,500 of the 10,000 units we now have in our portfolio. And we're really proud to serve seniors with a high-quality, accessible, visitable product that is green in design to keep their utilities bills down, to allow those fixed incomes to go further. And while mentioned that there are ADA units in this building, 100% of the units are visitable and adaptable, meaning every unit meets ADA requirements. And as residents come in, if all of our ADA units are filled, we're able to adapt those units by simply just pulling off a countertop or a cabinet front so that sinks can become roll under. All the turning radiuses, the hallways, the doorways are in this cabinetry is a little bit lower so that we can accommodate seniors of all physical abilities. As mentioned, we do have senior housing in Huron. It's a 50-unit development. We have a 60-person wait list over there. People were waiting years to get into a unit. And so we're happy we're going to be able to serve those residents, as well as in your own community here. There are only around 80 comparable units in a market area that includes somewhere in the realm of 2,000 to 3,000 seniors needing housing like this. And those products, as you can imagine, are 100% full as well. The real demand is probably for upwards of 200 to 300 more units in your community. This is going to take a big bite out of that. It's going to allow seniors to age in place and simplify their lifestyle. We get a lot of our residents from ownership. They're selling a home that they simply can't keep up with anymore, simplifying their life. We're taking care of everything. They're paying rent and they're paying an electric bill. Beyond that, everything else is taken care of. We will have senior services provided as well. That's going to include curb-to-curb transportation, in-home meals, light housekeeping. This is a fully independent product. We're not providing assisted care or nursing care, but our goal is to keep seniors independent as long as we can by providing programs and services in an appropriately designed unit. So with that, we're excited about the opportunity to serve your residents, and this is going to total somewhere in the realm of about $32 million in new investment in your community as well. It will be bid locally, and many local subcontractors will be building this building for us, and we're really excited to bring this to the community, and hopefully you are as well. And from there, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have as well. Thank you so much for your time.
Questions?
Mr. Chairman, through you. This is really my wife's question. I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but what kind of rental rate or range are?
Well, as mentioned, we're utilizing a program through the state. It's called it's actually a new program. They've only had it for 5 years. It's an Ohio LIHTC, Ohio tax credit, gets coupled with a federal tax credit. And with those dollars, we're required to target families, households making 80% AMI and under. Now, for a retired senior, that's really easy to do. You're drawing pensions and Social Securities. And so even though we're 55 plus in our portfolio, we average around 80 years in a facility like this. So it is true retirees that we're generally serving. And because we're using those credits, we are required to rent restrict. So we don't have necessarily a voucher or a rent subsidy to provide that resident, but because we're using those tax credits, we're required to provide that at what is considered below market. So if in theory a unit might cost you $1,000 a month, well, maybe we're renting it to you for $800 a month. It will vary depending on your AMI. There's a few income bars set up from 80%, 60%, down to 40% AMI. And depending on which bandwidth you qualify as, you would pay a different rent. So there is a broad spectrum, but one bedrooms at the low rents could be as low as $600 a month. And on the high end, maybe as much as $750 to $800 a month. A two bed could get as high as maybe $1,000 on the high bandwidth, and maybe as low as $850 to $900 on the lower bandwidth. So it will vary and depend, and we are talking about estimating rents that will, this would ultimately come online in 28, it's 27, 28, the turn of the year. So we're kind of somewhat hypothesizing about that, but based on the market study, that's where we'll land.
Can you give me a sense of what the AMI represents?
Yeah, it's adjusted median income, so it's
The
based.
dollar value of.
Oh,
80%
okay.
AMI.
So at an 80% AMI and a two-person household, I'm guessing that's somewhere, and I call it a guess because I just don't have the document in front of me, I'm guessing that's somewhere in about the $55,000 to $60,000 income range. You know, most seniors, I would say we average 1.1 residents per unit, so we are generally speaking about single-person households. Most of these units are one beds, so most of the rents will be between $600 and $900, but on the higher end, we might be $900 to $1,050 on the high side of things.
Appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Good. Okay. Entertain a motion?
Yeah, I'd make
I'm
a
sorry.
motion.
Through you,
We-
Mr.
we
Chairman.
get one.
I have one question, but I think it's a question for staff. Just because I know there was some, I guess, concerns with regard to the parking. It does say that we, as the commission, can override the parking requirements if there's adequate and available parking elsewhere, private, off-street. Could you just confirm that there is available parking should that lot be filled up, since we don't have the amount of spaces required in our actual code?
I would say yes. If we zoom out on, I'm thinking of a map in my head, if we zoom out of Sandusky and go to a denser populated area, I don't know about you, but when I visit places like Columbus or I've been to Chicago, I have to walk a couple blocks to park somewhere else, even if I'm staying at a hotel, and go there. If we transplant that idea to Sandusky, to answer your question, yes, there's public on-street parking available throughout the Number Street neighborhoods, if that were somehow at all going to be a problem. But again, for reasons outlined, we really do not believe it will be.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I might have some more comments as part of the discussion once we have a motion, but to address the parking. Ms. Castile hasn't been on this board for 100 years like Miller and I have, but we've got a tradition of allowing less than code as we're permitted to do for a couple of reasons. I mean, and a big one is, less runoff. It's green to not force more parking than anybody can possibly use, like the mall that doesn't even fill its parking lot on Black Friday anymore, and so it's a sound thing, and I'm assured that this might be even more than they really need. So, but it's an astute question.
Yes, I agree. It's just we had some community concerns from my understanding, and so I just wanted to go on record that everything is
Good.
I know living close
planned, and then there's backup.
to 3 retirement centers that I can see from my windows, and they are high rises. The parking lots are half full
Yeah.
all
I'm
the
sure we'll
time,
have
even
plenty.
with visitors. So,
All of them.
yeah, all of them, correct. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman.
You may say, maybe?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I would like to make a motion for approval subject to staff recommendations.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Roll call?
Any discussion?
Mike Zuloff.
Discussion?
Oh, you want
We've already
discussion?
discussed.
Sorry.
We did it out.
Well, I just had a comment about how much I appreciate the landscape plan. I think lots of green space is a good thing. We sorely need housing. Not everyone will agree this is affordable, but it's certainly going to push us in the direction of more affordable housing. So it's exciting stuff, and I just, if you can do it, others can do it, or maybe we have a few other sites that might be attractive. So thank you, and welcome to the community, and hope it works,
We appreciate it. Thank you.
assuming we pass it.
Roll call?
Mike Zuloff.
Yes.
Jake Castile.
Yes.
Connor Whalen.
Yes.
Pete McGorry.
Yes.
Tom Tucker.
Yes.
David Miller.
Thanks for your time and considerations. We'll keep you updated.
Good luck, thank you.
Okay, new business, item B, 1020 West Water Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a second and final application we're hearing tonight for site plan approval submitted by Fike Design Group on behalf of JHK Group for property it owns at 1020 West Water Street for the construction of a new mixed-use building. So here is the site in question. It's on the corner of West Water and Shelby Street. It's zoned DBD, Downtown Business District. Here's a photo showing the existing site conditions. On the southwest corner of the site, you can see an existing boat storage building, which was recently added on to in 2020. The gray area is an existing gravel parking lot, and green is grass. Here's a street view photo from the north elevation, or also known as West Market Street. You can see the existing site, got some fencing that's proposed to stay for site security. Here's the west elevation from Shelby Street. So outlined in red are the new elements being introduced in this application. The site plan in general, the building itself meets all code requirements, meets setback requirements. It's under the height restriction. It's a mixed-use building in that the first floor is business. It's an office related to Towboat Marine, the existing business use of the property. Excuse me, and with a residential apartment on the second floor of this same building. So new building on bold red, and then in light or outline red, the new concrete with some existing concrete in the buildings. Here's the first floor plan. On the bottom left is a residential garage. On the top left is an office with a bathroom. And then the right side of this building, this drawing, is the storage garage. And in the bottom middle, you'll see a vestibule appropriately delineating all of that. The frame itself, or the footprint, is about 2,300 square feet. Here's the second floor plan. There's a residential apartment, as noted, with an outdoor deck. Here are the proposed elevations, and simply because we talked about it in our staff report, I'll just quickly say that staff recommend, but to be very clear, cannot and do not require that the applicant consider larger windows on the southern elevation to improve their view of the lake, curb appeal, future resale value, and integration visually with the existing Sandusky Bay pathway. Entirely up to them. Just wanted to mention it. It's our 2 cents. Proposed lighting plan. What is outlined are the proposed locations of the light fixtures. The fixture will be the exact same in all locations, which is that ring security camera and lighting fixture. This meets all code requirements as long as it's installed at an angle of at least 60 degrees, or in other words, so that as long as it doesn't shine horizontally, because then we get into issues where we're causing light trespass or potential nuisance under the street or into the water, which would be against the intent of our dark sky ordinance. Here's a proposed landscaping plan. Green is grass, green circles are new plantings. Want to say thank you and acknowledge the applicant's efforts. COVID was obviously a trying time, and so following through with previous conditions to provide landscape plantings, and we'll talk about paving as well. Just appreciate the stewardship of the land and follow through. We see gravel in gray. That's all existing, and then the concrete is a little bit of, or a sizable chunk, I should say, excuse me, is being added to the site as well. And fencing is in pink. Proposed parking plan, gravel and concrete. If you look in the concrete portion on the bottom right of that polygon that I drew, are 2 parking spots. That was just triggered by the introduction of office space. Storage uses do not trigger parking requirements. They're exempt from it. So the applicant, the square footage led to 2 spaces being needed, and one of them per federal requirements had to be ADA, so thank you to the applicant. They meet code requirements, and again, the note about the paving partially completes the paving requirement set by this commission in the 2020 site plan approval for that building addition. Last plan is proposed site drainage plan. Engineering department approved routing the new building drainage to a basin in the proposed concrete area to the south and piping that to the stormwater basin on the north of the site on West Water Street. That's highlighted there. The only other engineering comment was that the paving of gravel driveways is preferred. And staff analysis is that this mixed-use development conforms with the existing character of downtown Sandusky and intent of the downtown business zoning district, and it adds one more housing unit. 2 is there's ample room on site for all circulation and parking needs. 3, proposed lighting will be compliant as long as it does not shine horizontally. And 4, all other code requirements have been shown to be met. Therefore, staff recommends approval with the following singular condition. All applicable permits are obtained through the building department, engineering department, and any other applicable agency prior to construction. And commissioners, these are shown as being struck through because they did appear as 1, 2, and 3 on our staff report. However, since in the time period between that being published a week ago and today, we received information that we were comfortable removing that. So what you see on this slide is the new official recommendation. Thank you. I can take any questions. Applicants here as well.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
looks like a great project. I see no reason to object to anything, except for one thing. I've got a pet thing about lighting. And that lighting, it would be trivial cost to put a truly compliant luminary in there. I'm skeptical of our ability to make sure it's installed correctly. Common sense for the electrician, the installer will be to point it out like it is normally used. You would have to kind of make some special considerations to make sure it's in there right. It would be a trivial cost to just simply put in a compliant luminary, and why not? Otherwise, we're not really honoring the code. So with that minor point, I would make the motion that we approve it with the additional requirement that a compliant wall pack be used instead of this one.
If I may, Mr. Zuloff, so we did go back and forth with the applicant over several emails, trying to guide them to the right place. My recollection of the spec sheet showed that this does have a 3,000 degree Kelvin option or lower, and the angle of those lights are able to be manipulated. They wanted this fixture, and correct me if I'm wrong, applicant, but because that bottom pack there is a security camera, so it was like a 2-for-1. So it was
Yeah.
more efficient use.
I would need
that.
some convincing to believe that it's even possible to position it in a compliant way. Even if you did, it's going to look awkward. I'm not buying it. I've got a lot of experience with this stuff. I mean, I actually worked for GE Lighting, which actually doesn't really help much here. You kind of have to understand the dark sky stuff. But I don't think it's onerous to ask them to spend their money on, on a slightly different wall pack. I mean, it would, come on, what kind of expense are we looking at here?
Any other questions from staff?
Yeah, my question to staff, the fencing that surrounds the site, is it going to be similar to the fencing that exists now? And I could be receptive to a plea that security or other reasons require a 6-foot fence or whatever, but fencing has been an issue of discussion for a long time, and, as long as it's not barbed wire or whatever, but what are the fencing design requirements? Yes.
Right, so in the downtown business district, all business and commercial districts, fencing can be 6 foot all around the property, regardless what yard it's in. It can be right up to the property line. The ruling regulation in those districts is that, like you mentioned, the barbed wire can only be granted in certain districts only with commission approval. That's not being requested. And the second out of 2 requirements is that it can't cause a line of sight issue. So with this being
I'm sorry, you can't cause a what?
line of sight issue.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Have the applicant would like to speak?
Keep it real short. I'm Mike, architect, 224 East Water Street. To answer your questions, the fence exists. We're not changing it. We're going to add landscaping to help cover things up. The lights, we've picked these specific ones out. We had other ones that we liked better. These are the ones that staff has said that they would go with. I guess I'm kind of insulted if you'd say, hey, I don't believe you're not going to aim those correctly. So to answer your question,
This is their
to
recommendation.
answer your question is we're not changing them. Those are the ones we're installing. Any other questions, be happy to answer them.
Any other questions? Okay.
Did we have a second on the motions?
We didn't have a motion yet. This was just questioning period, no
Excuse me,
discussion.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just so I'm clear, that motion was also contingent on following the recommendations of staff,
No
correct?
motion was made, I don't believe.
Oh,
yet.
okay.
It was
I'm
all-
sorry.
it was under-
We
it
waited
was
on that.
The questions for staff. Then
Oh.
we'll have a motion, then we'll have discussion.
One other item,
Yes.
the only contingency was a building permit. We've secured the building permit. The reason we don't have it in HAP is we don't have off-street parking plan approval. Off-street parking approved, we have a permit. So
I
we're
thought there was
good to go.
something about the stormwater drainage, being sure that it's designed and installed as directed by the staff. That's the stuff that I was.
Correct. So, Ms. Castillo, that is correct. That's why when I put this current slide up right now, I mentioned, that's why I struck through it.
Oh, I'm sorry, I still had the.
Totally
original that
fine.
You emailed me.
Yeah, that is our practice, and for a good reason,
Sure.
to have that be what it is for a whole week's period. But in
That's
this
fine.
particular case, we received it late in information in the last week. So,
Okay.
yeah, and it worked out fine.
Perfect.
So,
Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
I thought I was making a motion before, but I'll make it more clear that I'm making a motion to approve the application with the additional condition that the fixture be compliant with the, shall we say, a full, let's call it a full cutoff, or make it as flexible as possible, a full cutoff or a fully shielded luminary, which this is not.
Need a second? Okay, that motion, for lack of a second,
I'll make a motion to approve the application subject to staff recommendations.
I'll second that motion.
it's been a motion and a second. We have a roll call?
Connor Whalen,
Yes.
Tom Tucker,
Yes.
David Miller,
Yes.
Pete McGorry,
Yes.
Jade Castillo,
Yes.
Mike Zuloff.
Yes.
Okay, is there any other business to come before the committee? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn our next meeting on March 25th.
So moved.
Moved and seconded, we are adjourned.